Good afternoon and welcome to the 2017 Online Knowledge Translation Conference. We're glad you're joining us for the 5th annual conference sponsored by the Center on Knowledge Translation for Disability and Rehabilitation Research, or KTDRR. I'm happy to announce that the conference will continue for the next several years as an activity of the Center on KTDRR, which has been funded for another 5-year cycle by the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research, or NIDILRR, part of the Administration for Community Living in the Department of Health and Human Services. The theme for this year's conference is Knowledge Translation Outcome Measurement. Over 3 afternoons this week, today, Wednesday, and Friday, we will focus on strategies and tools in the planning and implementation of effective and efficient approaches to KT measurement. My name is Joann Starks, and I'm with the Center on KTDRR, based at the Austin Office of American Institutes for Research, or AIR, and I'll be moderating today. I want to invite everyone to please introduce yourselves in the chat box, which is on the left-hand side of the window. Now I'll go over some elements of the Adobe Connect environment. And as a reminder, we are recording these sessions and will have the archives of the conference available in a few weeks. If you prefer to not be identified, you can skip identifying yourself now and when you ask your questions in the chat box. You'll be listening to the conference over your computer speakers, and if you need to adjust the volume, you can do that by adjusting the volume on your own computer. There is also a small green speaker icon in the bar at the very top of your screen, and you can adjust the volume there. In the center of your screen is the main presentation area, where the conference information and presentation slides will be shared. At the top left of the window, you'll see a picture of the staff member or presenter who will be speaking. Below the picture is the chat box. Please use this area on the left to ask questions or make comments and to follow the conversation of others. You'll also see the link for cart captioning services here. This will open a new window which you can adjust to your preferences. During the presentation sessions, under the chat box, you'll find a handouts box with copies of the presentation files available to download, but this box is not visible now. Also at the bottom of your window is a box with conference logistics. You may contact technical support at 888-523-8445. There is also an email address to request help, support@meeting1.com. And please don't forget to tweet about the conference at #KTDRR17. On the bottom right is a box with helpful links, including cart for captioning, Adobe Connect's accessibility features, the conference homepage, agenda, materials, and the expo page. If you select one of the items, the link will appear at the bottom of the box, and to open the link in a new window, select Browse To. Just a reminder to our presenters, please do not do this while you are in presenter mode. We want to encourage your participation by using the chat box on the left side of the window. This is the best way to communicate with conference staff. If you have any questions, just ask in the chat box and one of the conference team members will respond. But you can also tweet your questions using the hashtag KTDRR17. Today's theme is Overcoming Barriers to Outreach. We will begin with an update from the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research, the funding agency for the Center on KTDRR. Acting Director Christy Hill and KT Coordinator Pimjai Sudsawad will share their information. This afternoon we'll have 3 presentations and an interactive discussion following the intro. Chris McBride of SCI-BC will focus on how to get community organizations to participate in KT activities. Following will be Ron Saunders describing KT and measurement activities at Canada's Institute for Work and Health. Following a 30-minute break, Jennifer Flagg of the Center on KT for Technology Transfer will close our first day presentations with tips and tools for communicating with key stakeholders. At the end of the day, we will have an interactive discussion led by Kathleen Murphy, Director of the Center on KTDRR, with participation among all our participants, presenters, and several volunteer reactors. Everyone will be able to engage and ask questions of the presenters by way of the chat box. You can visit the conference website at www.ktdrr.org/conference to see the full agenda with abstracts as well as pictures and biographies of the presenters. There is also a page on how to participate if you need assistance to sign back on. One last thing, I want to extend a big thank you to the Austin-based staff of KTDRR who've worked very hard to bring the conference to you. Tracy Bauman, Stephen Boydston, Donna Matrani, Kathleen Murphy, and Ann Outlaw, as well as additional ARR staff, including IT support, publications, and others. Okay, let's get started. First, we'll hear from Christy Hill, Acting Director, and Pimjai Sudsawad, Knowledge Translation Coordinator of the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research. Christy and Pimjai, are you ready?
You ready?
Yes.
Let's go.
Hello, everyone, and on behalf of NIDILRR, I'd like to thank you all for your interest and commitment to knowledge translation and for your participation in this year's conference. While NIDILRR has been through a good bit of change in recent years, our mission and our operational focus remain the same. We are still in the business of generating new knowledge and promoting its effective use. Knowledge translation is at the core and the heart of this mission. The work that NIDILRR funds falls under the categories of research and development, capacity building, and knowledge translation. With nearly a dozen mechanisms by which we fund this work, the knowledge translation thread is woven throughout. It simply cuts across everything we do. NIDILRR continues to settle in comfortably at the Administration for Community Living and within the broader Department of Health and Human Services. Our core competencies and capacity as a research enterprise are valued and well respected. We are in support of and in close collaboration with our colleagues to optimize outcomes for people with disabilities and for those aging in the community. The NIDILRR research and our KT and related resources are highly complementary and well aligned with the service and advocacy programs that are at the core of the other ACL components. NIDILRR has been systematic in recent years and strategic in our thinking and approach around promoting the movement of research findings from the laboratory settings and from research journals into the hands of the organizations and of people who use it. We have been focused and intentional about driving increased engagement of people with disabilities and inclusion of their input into the design, the planning, and the implementation of our research and KT activities. The purpose of the work at NIDILRR around KT is to improve the understanding of practices that will lead to successful KT, to increase the adoption and use of generated findings through our research, and then ultimately to optimize the capacity of our grantees to plan and implement knowledge translation activities. And we feel like we're having really good results and success with this. KT, or knowledge translation, does not and will not happen without our intention and our attention. We must all continue to be purposeful and reflective about knowledge translation activities with an eye towards keeping our activities fresh and novel and innovative. We need to make sure that our implementation strategies and our mechanisms for driving KT outcomes are diverse and adaptable enough to address the evolving needs and demands of our consumers. I'm really enthusiastic today about the work that will take place with this conference. The presenters you will hear from are true leaders in the field. As participants, I encourage you all to take this opportunity to actively engage your colleagues and offer your best thinking around the areas that will be covered over the course of the 3 days. Overcoming barriers to outreach, tools for tracking implementation, and strategies for measuring KT outcomes. Your participation in this conference is vitally important and greatly appreciated. To reiterate the message that I started with, NIDILRR is most definitely committed to doing what we can to cultivate and advance the work around knowledge translation in our community and beyond. It is inextricably linked to the NIDILRR mission and the philosophical framework from which we operate. This meeting is timely, and its takeaways will not only inform the strategic planning efforts at NIDILRR, but also that at ACL and the aging and disability communities that we serve and support. Before I turn the microphone over, I want to thank our knowledge translation grantees and the partners that have worked so hard to organize this event for today. I especially want to thank Dr. Sudsawad for her passionate leadership of KT at NIDILRR. At this point, I'll turn over to Pimjai and offer you the best wishes for a fruitful conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christy. I'm Pimjai Sudsawad, and I'm the Knowledge Translation Program Coordinator at NIDILRR. Like Christy, I would like to thank everyone for your interest and attendance of this 2017 Knowledge Translation Online Conference, and welcome colleagues from both domestic and international locations. And I'm glad to see that there are several people joining us from outside the country. As Christy mentioned, NIDILRR is fully committed to engaging in a full spectrum of the knowledge translation process. And knowledge translation has been and will continue to be integrated in all of our funded activities. NIDILRR sees knowledge translation as a multi-dimensional process of ensuring that new knowledge and products gained through research and development will ultimately be used to improve the lives of individuals with disabilities and further their participation in society. Because knowledge translation is a multi-dimensional process, there are many aspects to be considered. Some we know more about and some we know less about. So in order to be successful in knowledge translation, there is a need to continue capacity building in this arena as the field evolves and more information emerge about what it takes for a successful knowledge translation. It is also important to establish a sense of community where people are able to exchange information, tips, techniques, lessons learned, etc. We hope that this forum, with it being online, will eliminate the geographic boundaries and enable virtual exchange and discussion that otherwise may not be easy to achieve. Everyone who is interested in this area can come together and share information regardless of their professions, their affiliations, and locations. As you can see from the list of presenters and participants alike of this conference, people are from many different locations and professions. We all can learn from each other and then use the information we learn to increase our rate of success in our respective areas of interest or specialization. For those who may not be familiar with the KT activities at NIDILRR, we have integrated the concept of KT into our funded activities by requiring that grantees collaborate and partner with relevant stakeholders in their research and development process. The goal is to produce not only high quality, but also highly usable knowledge and products that can be used to improve the conduct, practice, policy, and system capacity that would ultimately lead to improving the lives of persons with disabilities and increase their full participation in society. We also fund a number of knowledge translation centers who provide technical assistance to all of our grantees in different areas to make sure that our grantees have help as needed in knowledge translation activities. In addition, recently we have developed new requirements for grantees to make peer-reviewed publications and scientific data resulted from the work funded by our agency to be freely and publicly accessible. We believe that these requirements will also help in facilitating and advancing our knowledge translation agenda by making sure that both scientific information and data are readily and freely accessible. If you are interested to learn more about our public access initiative and policy, you can just Google ACL, which is the name of the agency within where NIDILRR located, Public Access Plan. So Google ACL Public Access Plan, and you can review the document that is available online. Supporting a conference like this is also another way to help promote knowledge translation among the grantee community and beyond. I hope that you will find this conference a useful forum, and I also hope to see some, if not all of you, come back for future years. Thank you very much for your interest, and enjoy the conference.
Thank you very much, Christy and Pimjai. We really appreciate your thoughtful introductions, and welcome to our conference participants. Now let's see if there's any questions for our NIDILRR representatives. Please go ahead and ask your question over in the chat box over on the left. It does take a little time for people's comments to show up, so we'll wait just a minute before we move on. I also want to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for introducing yourselves over on the chat box. We have such a varied audience from lots of different places. That's really, really interesting, and I think will add to the discussion during the day. So I'm not seeing any questions. So, okay, well, most people are introducing themselves, so I haven't seen a question yet. We'll give it just another minute or so before we move on.